Sige, 1, 2, 3. Next group. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So before we end the class, mag-check lang yapon ta balik sa attendance. Okay, wala na yung questions for Koan for the previous meeting. Okay, mag-start ta sa ato ang discussion for today. Wala na. We will proceed ha, Mitsa. Okay, so let me just share my screen. So last meeting, we discussed about scatter plots mo, scatter plot and simple linear regression. So in the scatter plot and in simple linear regression, we're able to assume that there is a straight line correlation between variables. So pag previous meeting, nag-assume na ka nga na siya correlation. But for today, we will be discussing correlation and hypothesis testing. So in correlation, muna siya nga, din hita hatag na og value sa correlation coefficient na to. So in correlation coefficient, we will be able to determine if there is really a definite reason to say nga there is a relationship, linear relationship between two variables. So with the help of correlation coefficient, we can then say nga x and y are related. So if x increases, y increases. Tama na siya. So the correlation coefficient measures the strength and direction of a linear relationship between two variables. So if a correlation coefficient is close to +1, we can then say that there is strong positive relationship. Or if it is in the opposite and close to -1 siya, so strong negative relationship. And then if the correlation coefficient is 0, there is no relationship. So if ato na siyang i-graph or ato na siyang i-present in visually, so in a line, -1, -1, 0, +1. So +1, strong positive. -1, strong negative. And then 0, of course, is no relationship. Copy? Wala rin questions? Proceed ta? Sige, moving on. So to solve for the correlation coefficient, we will use the formula of R. So R will be our correlation coefficient. So R equals N summation of X times the summation of XY minus the product of summation of X and the summation of Y divided by the square root of N times N times the summation of X squared minus the summation of X and then squared multiplied by N times summation of Y squared minus the summation of Y squared. So I know it's a lot to take in, no? So kaninga formula. So ato na siyang i-apply. So using our previous example from last meeting, ng atong car rental, we have this data, no? So to solve for our R, let's complete first the table. So dungan tag solve tanan. So X, first column is XY. So X times Y. What's the answer?
Or for 1,
All
Miss.
for 1. Sige, ang kanina po, Data B.
$32.9, Miss.
29 times 3.9?
113.1, Miss.
Okay, 113.10. Ang C, 20.8 times 2.1.
43.68, Miss.
Okay, 43.68. Next, 19.1 times 2.8.
53.48, Miss.
53.48. Ang E, 13.4 times 1.4.
18.76, Miss.
18.76. Ang last, 8.5 times 1.5.
12.75.
Okay, 12.75. Pila ang total sa atong XY?
682.77.
Okay, 682.77. Ano na punta sa next column? X squared, 63 squared. Kailangan
8,969, Miss.
Pila to?
8,969.
3969. Ang next, 29 squared.
841.
841. 20.8 squared.
432.64.
Okay, 432.64. 19.1 squared.
364.81.
Okay, 364.81. 13.4 squared.
179.56.
179.56. Ang last, 8.5 squared.
72.25.
72.25. Kila ang total for x squared?
5859.26.
Say mo answer tanan? Okay, let's proceed to y squared na sad. So y squared, 7 squared,
49.
49. 3.9 squared,
15.21.
15.21. 2.1 squared,
4.41.
4.41. 2.8 squared,
7.84.
7.84. 1.4 squared,
1.96.
1.96. And then the last, 1.5 squared,
2.25, Miss.
2.25. So, pila ang total for y squared?
80.67.
80.67. So, we already have our summations. So, going back to our correlation formula, which is R equals the summation of n times the summation of xy minus summation of x times summation of y divided by the square root of n times summation of x squared minus summation of x squared, and then n summation of y squared minus summation of y squared. So, ato ning i-plug in ato ang values. So, our n is 6. Kay 6 man ni ato ang data. So, 6 times summation of xy, 682.77 minus summation of x, which is 153.8, times summation of y, 18.7, over square root of 6 summation of x squared. Ay, 5859.26 minus summation of x, 153.8 squared times 6 summation of y squared, 80.67 minus summation of y, 18.7 squared. Like, what if you have our numerator? Dili lang sa nga part.
$1,220.56, Miss.
1,220.56.
Yes, Miss.
Okay. Same answer tanan?
Yes, miss.
Yes, miss. Okay, how about the denominator? Dili na put na part. Ilaman. Morning, ewan kaibigan mo, be. Sige, unsa may answer sa denominator na to?
1,252.
Pila to? 1,000? 1,000? 1,000?
242.
242.1583.
9583, miss.
9583.
9583.
9583. Sorry, nagot. 0.9583. Sakto na? Okay, so what is the value of R? Can you over this one? What is our R?
0.9820, Miss.
Okay, 0.9820. So, mo siya ang atong correlation coefficient. With this correlation coefficient, what can we then say about the correlation between x and y?
Strong positive.
Okay, there is a strong positive. Therefore, there is a strong positive relationship between the number of cars and the income of the car rental agency. And now, siya pag-summarize. Kapira? Kakatch up mo? Any questions? Any questions? Wala questions? Proceed ta? Okay, let's proceed. Wala tayo questions? Anyone? Sige, let's proceed. Sige, let's practice solving this one. Compute the value of correlation coefficients for the data obtained in the study of the number of absences a student has and their final grade. So again, let's fill in our table. Tungan tag-solve na sad. So x times y, pila man?
One four four, Miss.
144. So 0 times 8, 0. 32 times 2,
64.
64. 64 times 5,
320.
320. So 8 times 10, 80. 32 times 5,
160.
160. 10 times 56 is 560. 2 times 72,
148.
144. So ang last is 1 times 48, 48 yapon. So x squared, so this column na sad, x squared, 3 squared,
9.
9.
9, 0 squared is 0. 2 squared,
4.
4. 5 squared,
25.
25. 8 squared,
64.
4. 5 squared, 25 again. 10 squared is 100. 2 squared, 4. And then 1 squared is 1. And then, dinhin na punta sa y squared. So, 48 squared,
2,304, Miss.
2,304. 8 squared is again 64. 32 squared,
1024, Miss.
1024. 64 squared,
4,056, Miss.
4,096.
Miss.
Okay. 10 squared is 100. 32 squared, na tayo 32 squared, there is baba, 1,094. 56 squared,
3,136, Miss.
3,136. And then 72 squared,
5,184, Miss.
5,184. And then 48 squared, 2,304, no? Sige, ato na siya ipang total kay blank ato ang totals. So, what is the summation of x?
36.
36.
36. Summation of y,
370.
370. Summation of xy,
1,520, Miss.
1,520. Okay. Summation of x squared,
232.
232. Summation of y squared,
19236.
1,936. So we already have our values for the summations. So writing again our formula for the correlation, n times summation of xy minus summation of x times summation of y over square root of n times summation of x squared minus summation of x squared, then n times summation of y squared minus summation of y squared. So, plugging in our values, n is 9. Okay, 9 man siya dire. So, 9 times summation of xy is 1,520 minus summation of x is 36 times summation of y is 370 over the square root of 9 times summation of x squared is 232 minus summation of x is 36 squared times 9. Summation of y squared is 19,236 minus summation of y is 370 squared. Sige, ato na po siya manamanawon. Pila ang value sa numerator?
60, Miss.
360, miss.
216.
360. Okay. How about our denominator? Dire. Sige, pila man. Anyone has the answer?
356.
Pila? Pila to?
356.
2,000?
5,000.
5,000?
Miss.
5,356.
0.2494.
2494. So, pila man ang value sa R?
Zero point 0672.
0.0672. Same answer tanan?
Yes, miss.
Okay. So with our correlation coefficient here being 0.0672, what does it say about the relationship between X and Y?
Strong positive.
0.0672 man siya. Again, ato siyang i-graph ha. So negative 1, 0, positive 1. You can only say nga strong positive siya if near siya sa positive 1. You can say strong negative siya if near siya sa negative 1. But our value for correlation is 0.0672. So 0.6072, let's say, hindi na siya dapit. 0.0672. So what does it say about the relationship between X and Y?
Not equal, miss.
Ha?
Not
Dili
equal.
man sad ka ingon nga equal siya to 0. Okay?
No relationship, miss.
No relationship, miss.
You can only say na no relationship siya if exactly equal to 0 ang inyong value sa correlation.
Weak relationship.
Yes.
Weak positive.
Yes, it's weak positive relationship. Okay, although kuan siya, there is still a relationship but weak ka siya. Weak positive relationship between X and Y. So, muna siya inyong tanawon if it's closer to positive 1 or negative 1. Muna siya ang kuan. Excuse ha. Sige, may questions about Ani?
Miss, if 0.5, Miss,
If 0.5 siya and then ambiguous, so di ba 0.5 in the middle of 0 and 1 siya, so maglibog mo. If maglibog mo sa 0.5, mag-proceed ta sa ato ang further testing niya. So we already have our correlation coefficient is 0.5 and then mag-further testing ta niya, which is hypothesis testing, the second part of our discussion. So if magkuan ka, hypothesis testing, okay, ang hypothesis testing man, mo test siya if significant ba yun ang linear relationship, ini significant ba yung correlation nga na solve. Okay, there may be instances nga kato siya ambiguous ang inyong makuha nga correlation coefficient, and then you will not be sure if you can directly, explicitly say there is a relationship or if there is no relationship. So to further identify if there is a relationship, mo itong mag hypothesis testing. Any questions?
is sa 0.5, bro, to siya applicable, Miss.
It's applicable to any other values of correlation, not necessarily nga 0.5 lang kay kuan man. There may be instances nga inig-solve nimo correlation coefficient, like for this one, for example lang ha, naka-identify ta that there is a weak positive relationship, but you want to test further if kanang enough ba ang pagkuha na to, pag-solve na to sa correlation coefficient nga maka-conclude ta nga kuan there is a relationship yun. So we can further test nga para ma-identify na to if naabag yun siya relationship kay kaning iyang value sa R kay 0.0672 man ya ato arang na-conclude kay weak positive relationship. So mag-kuan ka, mag-test, mag-hypothesis testing ka kay para makakuan ta if significant enough ba ang 0.0672 nga relationship para makaingon ta nga nagi relationship si X si Y. Nakasabot ra or naglibog sa ako explanation po?
Okay na, miss. Pero, miss, until pila day ka makaingon, miss, na weak siya, miss.
The closer it is to 0, that is the time na makaingon mo nga kuan, weak siya. Pero by the time na 0.5, kaya di ba mo 0.5 up, in-ground off ninyo, mas mo close naman siya sa 1 kaysa sa 0. So makaingon mo nga weak gihapon siya if 0.5 down. Pero if 0.5 up siya, diha mo makaingon nga strong na siya. Okay, any other questions?
Miss, kung kuan, Miss, 0.51, strong na siya, Miss.
Pwede na mo conclude ana nga strong na siya kay 0.5 up naman siya. Sige, any other questions? Any other questions?
Yun na, Miss.
Ang uban, walang question?
Clarence.
Sige, proceed ta sa kuan. Next part sa lesson, which is hypothesis testing. So like I said, it's a excuse ha. Okay. So like I said earlier, since ang value sa R na atong makompute kay either not equal to 0, which is makakonclude mo nga di ba mag-compute mo sa value sa R which is not equal to 0. So if dili siya equal to 0, either ang value sa R kay enough na siya nga makakonclude mo nga na ay significant relationship, or ang value sa R kay katong ambiguous siya. So if ambiguous siya, we have to decide whether the value of R is enough to conclude the relationship between values. So para makakonclude ta nga there is relationship between values, mag-hypothesis testing ta. So hypothesis testing is used to decide whether the value of R is enough to identify or conclude that there is a relationship between X and Y variables. So there are steps in hypothesis testing. So the first one is we will state the hypothesis. I believe you already know what a hypothesis is. So I will just proceed. So the second part is we will find the critical values. The next step is computing the test value. 4 is making the decision, and then the last step is summarizing the result. So in the correlation testing, we are using R symbol since it identifies sample correlation. But in hypothesis testing, we will be using symbol rho, which is the population correlation. It does not really have a impact with your solutions, but it will affect it nevertheless. So in hypothesis testing, in the first step, which is stating the hypothesis, we have these claims. So we will claim that the null hypothesis, the correlation is equal to 0. Wait lang, kasi wala nag-mute. Ay, si Darwin. Pag-mute sa kadali, Darwin. Sige, moving on. So our hypothesis, our null hypothesis is that there is no correlation. So earlier, at sa katong linear nga graph na akong gishow ninyo, if a correlation coefficient is 0, meaning there is no relationship. So that will be our null hypothesis. There is no relationship between X and Y. Our alternative hypothesis is that their correlation is not equal to 0, or there is a significant relationship between X and Y. So mao na siya ang interpretation for these equations. So correlation equals 0, so there is no significant relationship, and then correlation is not equal to 0, so there is a significant relationship between X and Y. So to test for the significance of correlation coefficient, we will use t-test. So I'm sure you're already familiar with t-test. So I will not dig down deeper in that. So we will be using t-test using the formula t is equal to r square root of n minus 2 over 1 minus r squared. So r will still be the correlation coefficient that you have solved earlier. R is equal to the summations, n times the summations of your data. So in hypothesis testing, involving correlation coefficients, we will assume two-tailed tests. So you already know t-test, two-tailed ta. Stick to two-tails in hypothesis testing. So any questions? Wala ra? Proceed ta to the example. Okay, proceed ta. So still using our currental example, we already have our data nga R is 0.982, and then we will be using the confidence interval of 0.05. So using the steps of our hypothesis testing, to step 1, we will state the hypothesis. So again, going back to the previous slide, our hypothesis is that the null hypothesis is there is no relationship between x and y, and then the alternate hypothesis is that there is a significant relationship between x and y. Muna siya. So with the first step being stating the hypothesis, we can then find the critical values. So using the confidence interval of 0.05, and then the degrees of freedom. So solving for the degrees of freedom, we will use n minus 2. So n minus 2, our n for the currental example is 6, n equals 6. So n minus 2, so our degree of freedom is 4. So using the table, I will be providing the table for this one. I believe the table is also in the book. So let me just check the tables. Wait a second. Let me just get the table for a while. So again, our degree of freedom is, so we have solved df. So df equals n minus 2. So 6 minus 2 equals 4. So looking at the first column of our table here, for the degrees of freedom, we will use 4. And then using the confidence interval of 2 tails, dito magtanaw, and then 0.05 under this column. So we can then say our value, critical value is 1, 2, 3, 4, 2.776. And since 2-tailed ta, our critical value will be plus minus 2.776 using this table. We will be using this table since this is the table for T distribution. Noted? Kapira? Okay. Going back to our presentation. So, muna ni ang ato ang critical value is positive, negative 2.776. So if ato na siyang i-graph sa ato ang distribution, muna siya ang gawas. 2.776, ana siya dito, muna siya diri. So anything that is less than negative 2.776 is covered by our critical region. Anything greater than positive 2.776 is still covered by our critical region. Kasabot pa? Kakatch up pa? Any questions? If wala pa yung questions, I will proceed. Sige, proceed ko. So the next step, we will then compute the test value. So computing for the test value, we will then again use the formula for T. T is equal to R times the square root of n minus 2 over 1 minus R squared. So plugging in our values for R and N, so 0.982 times the square root of 6 minus 2 over 1 minus 0.982 squared. Kailangan value for T. Using this formula. P equals
10.3981, Miss.
10.39.
81.
Okay. So our value for T is 10.3981. So since we already have our test value, so you will then make the decision we will then make our decision using the values for test value and the critical values. So using the test value and critical values, we have then identified, so I have already said, anything less than negative 2.776 is part of the critical region, and then values greater than 2.776 is still within the critical region. So if we will graph this one, 10.3981, mauni ang 10.4, iyahang i-round up. So 10.4 falls within the critical region. Kaya dinhi man siya dapit. So if within the critical region siya, atong i-reject ang null hypothesis. So if ato ni siyang i-reject, meaning kani siya ang ato ang hypothesis nga dawaton. Nakapalo pa?
Yes, Miss.
So therefore, making the summary, so using our accepted hypothesis, there is a significant relationship between x and y. So din hinata mag-summarize sa ato ang result. So there is a significant relationship between the number of cars, which is x, a rental agency owns, and its annual income, which is y. Nakakopy. So what if, and add na siya sa next example. So muna ni siya. Any questions? Clara? Okay, let's proceed with our practice solving. So we will still use the same data as before, so number of absences and their final grade. So, pila to atong value for our ani? 0. Pila to? Anyone who has the value?
0.982 is
Pila to?
0.982.
Dili, sa ka-rental man na siya nga value ang 0.982.
0.0672.
0.0672.
Okay, 0.672. Ay, kana, 0.0672. So, muna atong values sa R. So, following the steps of hypothesis testing, first part is stating the hypothesis. So, unsa to atong hypothesis? Our null hypothesis is
equals to 0.
okay. Correlation is equal to 0. And then our alternate hypothesis is correlation is not equal to 0. So next, find the critical values. So we will still use 0.05. Our degrees of freedom, so kani siya kay 9 man, equals 9 minus 2 equals 7. So going back to our table, so mo ni ato ang table mo. 7 ang ato degree of freedom, and then 0.05 ato confidence interval for two-tailed. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So our critical values is plus minus 2.365. Going back to our PowerPoint. So ato sulat balik. 0, 6, 7, step 1. So 0, not equal to 0. So step 2, using our table, critical values RDI plus minus 2.365. So we already have our hypothesis, we already have our critical values. We will then solve for the test value. So again, test value equals r square root of n minus 2 over 1 minus r squared. So our r is 0.067. Square root of n minus 2 is 9 minus 2 over 1 minus 0.067 squared. What is the value for t? Pila man, anyone?
0.1777, Miss.
0.1777. So we already have our test value and our critical value. So we can then make our decision. So to make the decision, we will graph the distribution and at 0. So negative 2.365 and then positive 2.365. Mao ni ang atong critical region. So ang katong i-mention ako ganina, if ang imuhang test value will fall within the test region and the critical region, anha ka mo conclude nga i-reject ang null hypothesis. But since our test value is 0.1777, so ako i-estimate na siya. So what happens to our hypothesis?
Do not reject.
Again, ang ato ang i-accept na do not reject. So again, if fall siya sa kuan, critical values, critical region, i-reject siya. So since wala man siya sa sulod, auto nga, do not reject siya. So do not reject null hypothesis. So to summarize the results, kung sa man itong summary ani?
No significant relationship, Miss.
Okay, there is no significant relationship. Very good. Relationship between the number of absences and their final grade. Okay, any questions? Any question? Sige, if you don't have question, maka-answer na mo sa next assignment. Confident ka mo maka-answer mo sa next assignment? Hindi bigyan mo ba niyo?
Yes, miss.
Sarah. Okay, if you don't have any other questions, I have already uploaded the next assignment in Canvas. And again, deadline is 11:59 p.m. October 4. The day before we are set to meet again. So our meeting is Wednesdays, so October 4, 11:59 p.m. I believe ako na to siyang i-fix ang deadlines. But if not, kanang stick lang ta sa deadline 11:59 October 4. Okay?
Excuse me, miss.
Yes.
Regarding sa assignment, miss, baka nang kapihon pa na mga questions or answer.
Pwede ra dito mo sa answer. Pero if kuan na mga instances nga mas makatabang ninyo if papihon ninyo ang data. Like sa ato ang pag-solve kanina nga ato ang i-add og additional na columns ang data. Kaya usually ang given ana i-share ba ka PowerPoint ha. Usually ang given ana kay ani na siya x and y ra. So there are instances na pwede ka nang mas convenient nga isulat na ninyo and then mag-add lang po sa other column atong x, y, x squared, y squared kay para mas dili mo mawagtang sa inyo ang pag-solve. Pero if makaya ninyo dili mo magsuwat ana, pwede reset. Basta for me, if ako ang mag-solve, ako siyang isulat ang data. No need to copy the problem. Okay, naaram ko i-copy sa problems po. Okay, another question? Napay questions?
Wala ra, miss.
Okay, sure na mo. Okay, if wala na question, check tag-attendance balik and then we can dismiss na so that you can start working on your assignment. I think, let me just check if ma-access na ba. No, I will change that time. Okay, check tag-attendance. F, no? F. Sige, 1, 2, 3. Next group. Loy naman din nag-shades. 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay na. Ay, okay. Sige, okay na. If you have any other questions, you can still reach me through email. Email ang gihapon. Okay? So if you don't have any other questions, you can end the class now, and then you can start working on your assignment. And then I'll see you all next Wednesday.
Thank you, miss.
Thank you.
Thank you, miss.
Thank you, miss.